share a video of a new Bible that I just received. It's made by Tyndale, and it's in the New Living Translation. It's the Thinline Reference Bible, and this is the box. And it says, "The words of Jesus in red, lay flat, Smith-sewn binding, thousands of cross-references," and it is in the black genuine leather. If you watch my channel at all, you know that I love the KJV. That's what I do all my deep studying in, but I found the NLT is helpful. I normally use the KJV Journal the Word Bible, large print edition by Thomas Nelson. So when I was looking at different translations on Bible Hub, I found, for example, like here with Matthew chapter 27, verse 45, "Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land unto the 9th hour." And the NKJV, most translations just leave that the same, but the NLT actually tells you that the 6th hour is noon and the 9th hour is 3 p.m. Another time that I found the NLT to be very helpful is when we're talking about times of the year. Like in Esther chapter 3, verse 7, it says, "In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus," and then it says, "From day to day and from month to month to the 12th month, that is the month Adar." And so I really don't know what time of year that is. And I found as I went to Bible Hub, NLT was the one that would say, so in the month of April, during the 12th year, and it would also say, and the day selected was March 7th, nearly a year later. Just found this helpful, having the NLT. And right now we have access to all of this, but we don't know if things are going to change at some point and we won't have access to these sites online. So my goal is always to have everything available offline, and that's the way that this Bible is going to be helpful. The thing I like about this also is that it is a Thinline Reference Bible. It was actually one of the Bibles I was looking at to get because I wanted an NLT Bible, and I was so blessed because someone I know had this Bible and wasn't going to be using it, so it's kind of felt like a gift from God that this was the Bible I was looking at. The only thing that was holding me back from getting it is I wasn't sure if the print was going to be too small. I do like the large print because it's very easy on the eyes, but it's nice that it's small. I can take it with me to church and have two translations, and it doesn't take up a lot of extra space. So I like that. So in case you want to see all the extras, here is the genuine leather, it says on here. It doesn't have the sewing around the edges, it's a pasted down lining. And then there is also this presentation page that's presented to, by, on the occasion of, and the date. And it does have one of my favorite verses here, Psalm 119, 105. "Your word is a lamp to guide my feet and a light for my path." I personally like the KJV better, but if you like the NLT, that's nice that that's right there in the front, because that's what having a Bible is all about. So this is actually filament enabled. And what happens is you scan the page number, and it's going to bring you to all kinds of information about this page. So here's the content page. So there is the introduction to the translation. There's one blank page for the Old Testament, and then it starts in with Genesis. And this is what a full page spread looks like. So one thing they do in this Bible is they'll have asterisks as you're reading, and that means there's a translation note. And then if you come down here, and this is for also the left side of the page and the right side of the page both, they put all of the notes on this side. So right now we're in chapter 6, verse 14. So in the NLT, they say, "Build a large boat from cypress wood." If you come down here, it says traditionally rendered an ark. I personally like that better, ark versus boat. And so this Bible says from cypress wood, and this says gopher wood. This is another example where I found the NLT translation helpful. In verse 15, it says, "Make the boat 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high." In the KJV, it says, "The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. And as you can see, I haven't gotten to this place to write in the green what those measurements are. This I can't visualize. But what's in the NLT I can. I appreciate having the NLT tell me what this means. Now, one thing that I prefer, though, is to have both. I personally wouldn't ever want to just have the NLT. I think neither translation is perfect, so I just like having both. And where there are differences, it causes me to dig in and look at the Hebrew and the Greek. So I like that we have all the translations available online. And I like now that I have a physical copy of the NLT, so it's always with me. The other thing that this Bible has that is nice are cross-references. You can find cross-references online. The same Bible Hub website has cross-references, but I've noticed there are a lot missing. Like when you go to the Gospels, maybe you're in Matthew, and you'll find that it's also in Mark, but it doesn't show that it's also in Luke. So I wish that they had everything on Bible Hub, where since Bible Hub is electronic, I'm just surprised that it doesn't always have all of them there. So anyways, this might be helpful. There might be some that I'm not finding in other ones. My Journal the Word Bible doesn't have any cross-references at all, but I have enjoyed putting my own in. It's hard to find all of them on my own. So it's nice, as many Bibles as I can find that have these, I find it helpful. So one thing that this says is that it's a lay flat Smith stone binding. It is Smith stone. I do see the sewing that's in there. I don't know if leather Bibles will eventually just lay flat for you, and I won't have us wait, but so far as I've been filming this, every few seconds it's flopping back on me, so it's just going to kind of walk its way up, and eventually the pages are going to flip down. And if I take too long, it's going to be flopped right over and I'm going to have lost my place. So that's a tricky thing, but I'm not using this as my all study Bible. And once you go towards the center, it's staying open. It's just those first pages, and I can imagine the end is bad too. So this does also have the words of Christ in red, and so that's nice when you get to places like Revelation, and it pops right off the page that that's Christ speaking. So at the end of a book, they don't start the next book on the end of the page like they do with some books. So I personally like that, a whole new page. And I'm noticing that the translation notes and cross-references, when this happens, they're on this page, goes with this and this. But the rest of the Bible, what I'm noticing is that all the notes are on this side of the page. So if we come to the next page, there are only notes on this side. So, and then there is this empty page in between the Old Testament and the New Testament. This Bible has a Tyndale verse finder. So it's in different categories with some verses. For the word rapture, it says, see second coming of Christ. And then second coming of Christ, there's a list of them. And that will actually be one of the studies that we do, looking at verses about the second coming of Christ in our study series. I know there's a lot of talk about when he's coming. Is it pre-trib, mid-trib, after-trib? And I think once you go through the actual study, I believe it will remove all doubt over when he's coming and when the church is raptured. So then, at the end of the book, something that drew me to this Bible when I was looking at them online, there's this visual overview of the Bible. I might have seen this on somebody else's channel and thought this is really neat, and it's something that I kind of do in my Bible. I print out little charts, like here's the world of the patriarchs. I have average annual rainfall, and then Abraham's migration, possible routes, and location of Ur, so different things. They have the plagues of Egypt. And so the nice thing with this chart is it actually shows that each plague had to do with a certain god of Egypt. So they received plagues related to what they were worshiping. And the plagues in Revelation, if you look at those, they actually are related. They worship the sun, so the sun burns them. It says Babylon is drunk on the blood of the martyrs. And so then in two of the plagues, the water turns to blood in Revelation. So God is right in everything that he does. He gives people what they ask for. The Exodus from Egypt, and I've been seeing that there's actually some debate about which way they actually went, but this is their belief on how it went. And then this one I really like. It has the Israel's annual calendar and the annual festivals. This type of chart is something I've been looking to add to my regular study Bible, and if I have this with me, I guess I don't necessarily need to put it in my Bible, but I kind of like having everything in that study Bible. So here are the 12 tribes of Israel and the conquest of Canaan, the kingdoms of Israel. This is a beautiful chart that they have in the back, and it shows all the different psalms. So if you're wanting some messianic psalms, here's a list of some. Now, one thing they note is that many psalms could fit into multiple categories, so I think what they did is chose where it fit best. And then the size of the circle shows how big it was. I personally would have also liked to have seen the number of verses in here, since they went this far with it, but this is really nice. They did notate that Psalm 119 is 176 verses, and it's the longest psalm. So there's categories: praise, thanksgiving, trust, wisdom, royal, God is king, messianic, Zion, lament, and vindication. So this is a chart on the prophets, and I think it's a really neat chart. So it has at the bottom the date, and so you'll see Jonah was back here before 750 BC. Here's when Israel falls, So it was before Israel fell in 722 BC is what they're saying. Exiles returned to Jerusalem 538 BC, and so these are some prophets that were alive during that time. The major prophets have these bigger boxes, there it shows in the key, and the minor prophets are just written like this. And then these are the number of words per book. So this one is a longer book, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and then Daniel. So that's why they're called the major prophets. Looks like Daniel almost should be considered a minor prophet, but I do love his books, so it's kind of cool that he's considered major. So major and minor doesn't mean more important and less important. It just means that there are more words contained in those books. So on this chart, it says, as the prophets had warned, God's people were exiled as a result of their sin. Israel to Assyria in 722 BC, and Judah to Babylon in 3 waves, culminating in 586 BC. But after Persia conquered Babylon in 539 BC, King Cyrus allowed the Jews to return and rebuild Jerusalem and the temple. So we have Assyria in the orange and Babylon in the blue. But I'm just not seeing, I don't get with the blue and the orange why it's like this. I'm not understanding. And then here's, see, I understand the lines, but I'm just not understanding this color part. If it means these people, some of them went to Assyria and some of these people went to Babylon, that might be what it means. I'm just not, I think that's what that means. But it just, I don't feel like it was clearly written, but I'm going to assume that's what that meant. So since they were divided into the 2 kingdoms, and these people kind of got they were kind of in the middle. So they went either way. I'm not understanding this map at all. And so if you can help me straighten it out, please leave a comment. So this one is kind of nice. It shows the ministry of Jesus. This is Galilee and regions to the north. And it will show Bible verses, and then Samaria, and then Judea, and the different stories that happen there. I really like this. I've never seen a chart that looks this way. And then the interesting thing, they have these letters, and on this map to the right, it shows, so P, this is the region between Galilee and Samaria, and they refuse entry into the village, and they say where it's mentioned, and then also where 10 men with leprosy are healed. So that happened in this area right here. So this is where all of his ministry happened, and here's the key to it. So this is really neat. These are the prophecies of Jesus. So this is showing the number of verses that are used in each gospel. And over on this side, they have Luke and John. And down here in the bottom, it actually shows you all the verses. And I'm just like this. I actually counted to see, yes, Isaiah, there's 15 verses. And if you count through, there are 15 listed here. So every single one is here. And I have no idea if they missed any, but this is really cool that they have this. In Psalms, there were 9 verses that prophesied Jesus, and it was written in Matthew. And if you come down here, it'll show you. So there's Psalm 72:10, that he would be visited by kings bearing gifts. And this is mentioned in Matthew 2, verses 1 through 12. So that is really neat, and I will be transferring this into my study Bible for sure. So this is moving on to post-Jesus and their ministry. So these are Peter, Paul, and Philip, their first journeys, and then Paul's missionary journeys. There's a look at that one, his route. This is something I've tried to add to my Bible. So this is the last chart included. It's the only one. I'm not sure how useful it actually is. It looks pretty. But so in Galatians, there's 13 Old Testament quotes. And in 2 Corinthians, there's 12. And in Romans, there's 58 quotes from the Old Testament. And these are the number of verses that are in the New Testament. I just don't know how helpful that is because it doesn't say what the verses are. And I do realize with 58 verses, that would be a lot. And so I think actually like in Romans, you have the cross references. So hopefully this might mean that they have 58 cross references that refer back to the Old Testament. And then I would assume in Genesis, there are 21 places that it refers to the New Testament in the cross references. And then this is kind of neat, this Old Testament allusions in Revelation. The Son of Man, that's mentioned in Revelation 1, 13 and 17. And then that was said in Daniel 7 and 10. So that's kind of neat. I'm not sure why they don't include verse numbers, but that's very cool. The seal or the mark, trumpet, bowl, and plagues. So those are like the plagues in Exodus, so that's neat too. So that is an overview of this Bible. I'm very excited to have it. I think my only criticism of this Bible is just that it takes a lot of work to get it to stay down. But you do have this ribbon. I forgot to mention that. I know people like ribbons. And so you can just, wherever you are, just keep this available as a bookmark. And so if you need to get up, just stick this in there. I would think if you're just reading along, it's not going to bother you very much. For my purposes, though, where if I'm reading along and then I come to a measurement and then I go to my NLT and I want to write my note, it's going to be a little tricky in some places as I'm trying to write, that this is going to close on me while I'm trying to do it, and I'll have to find things to, to keep it open. So that might work. So just something to think about, but I'm definitely not disappointed to have this Bible. I think it's going to be very helpful. So anyways, I highly recommend it if you need an NLT Bible and you're not looking for space for notes, you just want a reference Bible. I love the crossed references and I like the charts in the back. Those are really nice. I think the big thing will be remembering that all of this stuff is in here. And it's nice that it's a travel size. When I go to church, I can bring this. Maybe I can find a Bible cover that's even thicker, and then I can keep them both together and bring it to church. But I'm very excited to have both of these.